go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hanging Out with Howie on Monday nights. And before we do the introductions and tell you the topic, I'd like to do a few shout outs here. And first is from a fellow. I'm going to put my cheaters on here. And this is from Bavaria, where Brian should know about that area. He's been over to Germany many times. But a fellow named Peter Feldmeyer. And he says, hello, Howie. Thank you very much. He says, I watch every one of your shows as a little entertainment company owner and live musician here in Germany. I find it absolutely entertaining, educating, and insane. He must be talking about Jay there.
Probably.
What do you do? And what you do for the people. Can't wait every week for new episodes with you, Brian, and Jay. Hope to see you once in person when the pandemic has gone. Thanks again, my friend, and happy DMXing. There he's talking about Brian, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So let me introduce my illustrious
You should
cast.
talk to John about doing a remote show from Germany.
Bavaria.
Oh, yeah. Send us all over. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, that'd be cool.
By the way, those of you that don't know, BMW stands for Bavarian Motor Works.
Bavarian Motor Works. There you go. Let me introduce my illustrious cast. The Keeper of the Flame, the next generation, Travis McGuire. Welcome, sir.
Hello, hello.
And my wingman, travel buddy, and confidant, Mr. Brian S. Red.
Yes.
And my road dog and wingman from Boston, Massachusetts, John C. Welcome,
Hey,
John.
Hi there.
And of course, my partner in crime. And if we ever get in trouble, yep, Jay would be involved. Mr. Jay Brennan.
Thank you. Yes.
Oh, there he is with his light
Dropping
show.
the BSR.
He's trying to.
There
outdo
you
me,
go.
You know, and by the way, as always, screw Bill.
Yeah, screw
yeah.
Bill. I was going to say, soothsayer of all things legal music and insurance, depending on your state. From Carlisle Entertainment in Maryland, Mr. Bill Marsh.
And
Howdy,
crab
hi.
expert. Crab
Thanks for
expert.
being on here, guys. So,
Well, expert
Anyway.
with crabs, not having crabs.
No, yes, that's a kind of, yeah. Watch how we say that one.
that's important. Yes. Punctuation is everything.
Punctuation is always important. That comma
It's important.
means
Yeah.
a lot.
The comma. Yes.
Which is a third language.
Don't let Lori and Michelle get in here.
No. No.
Lori is already here, so be careful.
Where are they?
After class.
Woman scares me.
So anyway, here was my clickbait to get viewers to come in, but still, a worthy topic. Manuals.
Huh.
Do you read them? And or let's see. What? Oh,
Or
Lori
not.
made a beautiful little thing here. Shit, I should have put my.
Or do they burn your butt or something like that? I think you're.
Yeah.
John's like, oh no.
Oh,
It's already
okay.
off the rails.
Manuals. Do you read them, or would you rather set your butt on fire?
Yeah, that was it.
That's it.
They're important.
So seriously, how many people actually read manuals? I do.
I'm gonna read them.
I kind of have to say, like,
When you get in trouble,
well, no, I have begun reading them more right from the beginning. Like when I got that set of the little QBT ones from Chavez, when I got those for myself for Christmas, went ahead and read the manual right away because, well, I needed to figure out how to hook up the Bluetooth and make that work right. I will say I was disappointed while reading the manual to realize that there was no master slave mode for them, so that they would all change color and do their blinkies on the same at the same time.
That's why you need DMX.
Well, yeah, but I don't have a Howie in my pocket all the time.
Same with the Wash Effects too. You can't sound active those.
Yeah,
either.
you do. I'm only a text away.
And but the other crazy thing is, I mean, admittedly, even as a kid, I loved the challenge of putting some assembly required together without the manual or the directions.
It seems to be a guy thing, that, manuals, I don't need no stinking manual.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, again, to me, it was more just the intrigue of getting to know the thing on my own, going through and learning what do these buttons do. And I'm going to go back to about 1998 when I was putting my brand new Pioneer CDJ 700s into the case with my brand new CDJ 500 mixer. And unknowingly, that I don't know if everybody remembers this, but they have the CDJ players have a little mini jack on the back that you would plug from player to mixer and player to mixer, so you could use the fader start.
Yep.
I inadvertently plugged from player to player and discovered a way cool feature doing that, which is that when track 1 on CD player 1 ends, CD player 2 automatically starts playing like magic.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's called an Easter egg.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not a
Seriously.
defect, it's a
Now-
feature.
Yeah. Now, for me, I don't take a chance. I read the manuals. This here is my new Krups Christmas present, and it's because I grind my own beans. I wasn't taking a chance with my morning coffee. I read the manual so that it came out perfect.
Right.
Now, speaking of manuals, Travis, you put out some awesome videos. I mean, they rival up there with these so-called big guys. I don't want to mention any names, but you must have had to read through that to do such a. I mean, you were doing videos in your room at Atlantic City.
Yeah. I mean, so manuals in general, if it's sound equipment, I don't typically read all the way through them. I'll keep them for troubleshooting purposes, but lighting, I mean, I'd like to know what all the functions are when it comes to, I've got lights that are 5 channel, 14 channel, 16 channel, 75 channel. And I like keeping the manuals so I know what all of those little functions do when they're in those specific modes, especially lights. Like I've got, this just happened to be on my desk. It's for my Maui 28 G2s that I've had a year, and I can't believe I actually still have the manual just sitting on my desk without throwing it away or scrubbing it off or whatever. So yeah, I can't sit here and say that I read through all the manuals. I more keep them as reference, but I don't read all the way through them.
I do that myself because I'm going back to Lake Placid in 3 weeks and completely different fixtures, but I don't actually need to have a hard copy because you can download a PDF. And I have PDFs of lights I don't even own. I have PDFs of Jay's stuff.
Yeah.
And now, Jay, you obviously must read the manuals. You must have for this new piece of gear that may be coming out Thursday.
I read the manuals all the time, and it's funny to me because we used to have a thing on the forums years ago, because Pulse and I have run the forums for Pioneer for like 17 years now. And and it was just a bunch of letters put together, and it was just RTFM. And it stood for read the
Filibuster.
And the thing that bothers me is I have manuals to all the gear. So if I didn't have a piece of gear, I could get the manual online. So if somebody came in and said, oh, my CDJ 800 Mark II won't do this, I could at least get a manual and go through it. So even though I'm not a huge manual guy for me, I've had to be to do my job supporting customers. The problem now is the manual is almost less important than the ancillary things around it. And what I mean by that is you had a CDJ 700, it played a CD, it had a power, it had RCA outs, it had a mini jack out. That was it. There was no, like, what would go wrong? The CD wasn't burned right, it didn't get finalized. There, you know, there was very little that could go south. Now, no matter what it is, A, the manuals are 80 pages long, and B, that's not the problem. The problem is what version of Android, what version of Mac, what version of Windows, did you get the driver, did you get the firmware, do you have the software? There's so much technology now, it's not even like you're helping people the way you used to. Now you got to be a tech expert. So I think it's good to have the manual and look at it and be able to say, oh, I can or can't do this. But I think the manual is only the tip of the iceberg for the new DJ because it's all computerized.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've got 15 different Mac systems running with different drivers, with different, you know, RAM setups. Then you've got Windows. Then you've got different Windows versions. So I think you should start with that, but then you have to look to the manufacturers. Because even if you go to Pioneer DJ, for example, and say, I need to download the new drivers, you need to specifically look closely because the Monterey M1 drivers are different than the Catalina drivers, and they're different than the 11.12 drivers. There's a lot that goes in. It's no longer just push play and go.
Right. You know that, right?
Now, Brian, I know you probably would deny that you read the manuals, but I've seen you on video reading manuals.
Yeah.
Just recently when you did that Star Tech Light or whatever it was called for Dave.
Oh, the mothership.
The mothership, yeah. When you you DMX that for him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So with lighting, specifically the DJ grade lighting, can we call it that?
I would yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, you know, the stuff that's not necessarily for concerts and stuff, but the stuff that's for, you know, guys like us who don't want to spend a lot of dough. The manuals for those, I don't read them like a novel, but I will use them as a reference guides. There are some helpful, you know, graphs in there that tell you what does what. That's helpful. And then there are also some menu graphs or what do you want to call them? Are they almost like a
like a flow chart
or whatever?
You're talking about the traits so that you can download the profile.
Well, I'm talking about dumb things like, okay, you're looking at the menu and it doesn't say things like, I don't know, invert. It says something else. It's like 4 weird characters. So what the hell does that mean? So you go to the manual to figure out what it means. And it tells you, you know, the star Pine Tree X stands for, I don't know, brightness. Why? I don't know, but it does. Yeah. So I use it for that. But, you know, a lot of times what ends up happening, unfortunately, is the questions that I have about the fixture are not in the manual. However, there's like 3 pages of stuff telling you the same thing they've told you on every other light you've bought in the last 10 years. You know, you know, don't use it in the bathtub. You know, just stop.
Right,
you know.
Right. Dumb stuff.
I've
run into
3 pages of dumb stuff.
Yeah, I think one of the most common questions I get is dimmer and shutter. And they're like, well, what's the difference? Well, it all goes back to the theater days when they had the big, you know, spotlights. And to make a strobe effect, the operator would open and close the shutter because it would block the light. So some companies call it a shutter. Other companies, you know, will call it a strobe. And it's like, they're they're a little bit confused, but it's the same thing. It really isn't. But I can understand the confusion. So
yeah, it's I don't know. Sometimes they're very good. I think,
sometimes
you probably get what you pay for. If I bought, an LED par that cost $10,000, I bet the manual would tell me everything. Whereas when you're picking them up for, $89, it's the same rhetoric you've read in every other manual for the last 10 years, and it's not helpful sometimes. Doesn't always answer your question.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, something I just put together today that I got for the very cold weather. If you can see that in Chinese, the whole manual is in Chinese.
No,
there is not an English version.
Now it's either in Mandarin or
I speak Mandarin,
Cantonese.
I don't speak Cantonese.
I should have called you. It was a freaking.
Yeah, no, I can speak Mandarin.
Can't read it.
You guys
you're
can't?
buying oranges. When you're buying oranges, is that it?
I don't think there is a Chinese language. It's Mandarin or Cantonese.
Oh, I think there's other dialects too. Probably.
Yeah. 18 dialects.
Bino Bean de Wa.
Yeah.
I think
How
that's
about
Mandarin.
you, John?
I brought some manuals along for show and tell, just to show I keep them.
Oh, all right.
Wow.
Did you download the PDF though, so you always have it with you?
That would probably be a good idea, but as others had said, I mean, they're a great reference tool to go back if you forget what something does. But the ones that you really start from page 1 and read all the way through is when you're installing software, like side mixers that are USB. You get your one shot to go to the site to put the driver in the right folder.
Oh yeah,
you got to follow that to the letter. The other
Good
stuff.
point.
Once something starts working and blinking, I'm like, I'm gonna put the book down and just go with what I know for a few. If I need specifics, I'll go back to the book. But it's a good idea for things that are more intricate, because the manuals on the old lights, you plug it into the wall, the light turned on.
Yeah,
that was when the big rotoglobes would go around. It didn't have a speed. It didn't have a DMX. It was either on or off. Very short manual, maybe half a page.
Yeah,
Right.
Kind of miss those days. Just tell
So as things get more complicated, you need to keep them, because you never know if you're gonna change softwares, and now you gotta moving off of ADJ into Chavez. It's just good to keep those.
John, to your point and to Howie's point, both of you have brought something up pretty interesting, and I know that this is definitely something you want to look into when you're messing around with some of your audio equipment with drivers and such. The PDF is great because it's updated. If there's any changes, it's there.
That's true.
So if you buy a fixture that's 2 years old, you look at the manual, you can look at that paper manual, but I would advise just to go look at the PDF, see if there was any changes or updates or amendments to it.
And it's very difficult though, because you go to the manufacturer's website and then it says downloads and it has the latest ones. It's very, very difficult to do.
Sometimes it's pretty straightforward.
I was being facetious there.
Sure.
I see we have David Sporn in the house. How are you, David?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Good.
Fantastic.
So would the question before you got in was, do you read the manuals, or would you rather set your butt on fire?
Well, it really depends actually on the piece of gear. So recently I got a new Tascam mixer for like ceremony audio, small little audio jobs. It's got a Bluetooth thing on it. It's got a thing where it can record to an SD card, a lot of little knobs and buttons, and an EQ that's digital that's built in. I skimmed through the manual for what I couldn't figure out from just looking at the board. I mean, a lot of gear, as like John and Brian were saying. If it's a DMX light and you've got some experience with DMX, some things aren't going to change in the last 10 years. The most basic DMX mode, your channel 1 goes up, R, G, B, you might have like master intensity, like, you know what I mean? Like stuff we can figure out. When it comes to like newer, like the mixer, I'm going to skim through it for what I can't figure out. And then step 2 is, if I really can't figure it out, I'm definitely not going to look at the manual, because as Brian was saying, there could be a bug in the thing that's not in the manual that someone's posted like a video online. I definitely ran into that actually with the GoPro. I'm using, when it was on stabilization mode, it had this weird thing with streaming. But I had to go through like 8 different pages on GoPro forums to find you have to take the stability mode off. That ain't in the manual. So, you know, I guess it's kind of like my first place is like try and figure it out myself and then like look at the manual. But as soon as I get rid of the cardboard box it came in, that's when I'm getting rid of the manual and I'm looking to see if it came with stickers. And if it didn't come with stickers, well, spend $2,500 on a mixer and you can't get a sticker, but that's a whole nother story. American DJ, you buy like a $80 par can and here's 10 stickers and, you know, but I digress.
Yeah. I think Bill made a good point there about, you know, because I do that. I'm a beta tester, you know, for a particular app, and my job is to try to break it, try to brick it, on and on like that, and find Easter eggs. Like Bill found an Easter egg by misplugging his gear in. And, you know, that's just, that to me is fun. I wouldn't do that you know, at a live event, but I would do that like here. I would do that
practicing or with the boys. Yeah, let's set this up wrong and see what happens.
Turns out when I step on my dog's tail,
and that's the value. Yeah.
Well, Ryan, you don't want to do that out in public.
Well, that's the value of our collective wisdom here, is that we can, you know, share this stuff, you know, because not everything is in the manual.
Well, and some of the technology is getting to the point to where the manuals are almost antiquated by the time you get the gear, because a lot of the gear we have now has firmware built into it. And if you update it, if it's a massive update, that manual is pretty much done. You're not going to get anything other than, oh, this is the power button. This is where you stick the RCA jacks. But other than that, it'll show the hardware, but there's so much firmware. Like the Prime 4, for example, is got to be a firmware nightmare. If you do that upload wrong, or the firmware update wrong, or if you turn it off prematurely, I'm sure it would just screw that thing. And a lot of the gear is getting to that point. My moving heads pretty much have a little, 2-inch screen on it that you can control the thing solely from it without a DMX controller. You only do a couple of things, but it's crazy we've gotten to that point. So yeah, having the PDF files available, as long as they've updated it with the firmware, that's the other thing. If you find an old PDF, you're completely screwed. But it's crazy how quick the technology is moving.
That's the value of belonging to different groups.
Yeah.
Whether they're Facebook or, online forums like Jay has. If you keep up with that, they'll let you know that there is a new update, and then boom, I'll download that and get rid of the old one. Now, Jay, you certainly have had your share of updating stuff that was stuck on ships, and you were at the factory, for like 3 weeks or something.
5. Yeah, I did 5 weeks.
Whoa.
I did 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, for 5 weeks, updating a product. I won't say which one, but updating a product that had shipped, and by the time it got to here, it had had a critical update that fixed something that could have been really bad. So there was no questions asked. This has to get done. And I said, I'll take care of it. And I physically touched every unit out of 3,389, I think was the number. I physically went in every single one and went like.
And this is like before they're being shipped out to people.
Yeah, this is while they're being shipped out.
Oh, wow.
This was literally like open the box from underneath, turn it over, open it from the bottom. So you'd never know. Update it, put it back together.
And that, kids, is why he won't mention which product it was.
And you put the clear tape back on and everything.
Yes, yeah. But again, that's the time consuming. But this is what has changed so much about gear. I bought Newmark Axis 8 CD players back in 2000, and I bought them specifically because the opportunity was there that they would give you a update periodically that you would download from your computer, which in 2000, yes, the internet was obviously burgeoning, but we're talking pre-Google.
Right.
I think Google was 2003, 2002.
Right. Well,
so this was still the Wild West.
For Al Gore that he invented the internet.
That's what I've heard. Yep. That's what I've heard. Yeah. And the game was that every 6 months or so, Newmark would release a new update. You would download it, burn it to a CD, put the CD in, hit 2 buttons, and it would update the player. So the game was you would have a physical body CDJ that would keep updating down the road. And I thought that was like amazing. Like, wow, this is great. And you look at that 20 years later, and really 15, 14 years later, it's an entirely new game. Yeah. I mean, it really is. I get asked a question. Nobody's ever asked me like, hey, I put this in, it won't play. It's a cavalcade of, I'm using this laptop with this system, with this much RAM, and you have to do the research. You have to start at zero and say, okay, well, your iOS won't work. It won't work with this. It won't work with that. Or it does work with this, but it doesn't work with that. And then every time Apple and Windows update, guess what? They don't come to companies and say, hey, guys, we're going to update. We know you have DJs. Just want to give you a heads up. There's no heads up. So you have a ton of engineers in every industry like scrambling to figure out how to make the new computer work. I mean, there was 3 or 4 months where I would tell people flat out, that's awesome. You have a brand new MacBook Pro, but it won't work with Serato. Well, what do you mean? Serato's not caught up yet. So it won't work. Well, what do I do? You don't use it. Get an older one. Like, but I just bought this. I totally understand you just bought this, but you're SOL.
Right.
And that's what's really changed. The technology, it's changed so dramatically that the manuals are a great foundation. Hey, this does this, this does that. But I mean, if you guys get a chance, if you have a controller or a mixer, look at your manual if you have it. Go to the effects. It's like 5 pages of what a flanger is and how it actually works, and what a phaser is and how this works and this, and it's overwhelming. I mean, they used to be like 10 pages. The Chinese lights I have, the manuals are 3 pages long. Okay, this channel, this channel, this channel, go. And then you get into the, other manufacturers' gear, and it's like 75, 80 pages. But there is actually nuggets of knowledge in there that would benefit you down the road. So
I heard an interesting thing on the radio today regarding owner's manuals. So it's kind of ironic that we were doing this. Guy was talking about car owner manuals and how today they're sometimes 2 or 3 inches thick. He said, but most of the pages in there are telling you don't drink the battery acid.
Yeah.
And then he said, but I've got a 67 Camaro and it's a 1/2 inch thick, but I can look it up and find out where to set the timing at 4 degrees before top dead center,
or adjust the valves or whatever.
Bill, they used to be able someone from that generation drank the battery acid. Now they got to warn you not to do it.
Well, but
no one creates laws if someone hasn't done something to create the law for. Well, so someone drank the battery acid.
Look at a step ladder. How many stickers? There's no less than 10 stickers on there because they got sued for something. Don't stand on the top. Don't do this. Don't lean it this way. It's just,
Guys,
crazy.
Do you remember the old lady that got burned and made like $20 million suing McDonald's? She opened her coffee and got burned. Well, and now every coffee has to say,
no, she had she had it between her lap and she had some sort of spasm and the top popped off. And
yes, she still made money
on that one. Yeah, but that coffee was like the temperature on that coffee was insanely hot.
Yeah, they were. Once they started doing investigations, they were.
Having worked at Starbucks, I can tell you the coffee comes out at 180 degrees.
Yeah, but to be fair to them, it's to-go coffee, and they want it to be hot when you get to the office. That's why it was so hot.
But my point isn't about the temperature. It's about the fact that we have to nanny state everybody and hold their hand and say, oh, with this knife, don't take the sharp edge and run it across your hand. It will cut you.
It's kind of like when my daughter asked me, she's like, "Hey, Daddy, how do they know this dog food tastes like chicken?" I'm like, how do you think they know? And she goes, "Ew, someone ate it." I'm like, someone had to have.
I mean, same thing. Did DEET come with the warning stickers it should have come with, though?
I will say that the customer today, and if I offend anybody here, I apologize. And then I'm
offended already.
And then I take the apology back. I genuinely think people rely too much on someone holding their hand through the process, i.e. manuals, updates. Mm-hmm. They're not willing to kind of take a step back and go, I've got this gear that's supposed to do this thing. Let me try it out. Let me at least give it a shot. Because I've had a million conversations where I go, did you try this? No, hold on. Oh, it works. I mean, in the late 90s, I had DJs working for me. It'd be like, yeah, there's nothing coming out of the amp, the speakers. Everything's turned on. I can see the lights going up in the mixer. Is the amp on? Yeah, of course it is. I'm like, verify the amp is turned on. And then you hear this like, click, click. Oh, I got it.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here because I know Brian and yourself and we get these messages all day long.
And I'm happy to help people, as are you guys. But there's a point where it's like, folks, common effing sense. Like,
to a point, yeah.
You guys don't use Serato. I do. There was a trip with Serato Scratch Live where if you put the red and white RCAs backwards, it would spin backwards.
Oh, yeah.
So we would get a hit like, I plugged everything in, I hooked up Serato, and it's going backwards. I'm like, you have the RCA switched. I don't think so. I'm like, just check. Click, click. Yeah, you were right. Sorry about that. I mean, that was a thing. Like the program was made that if red and white went upside down, it didn't go the way you wanted it to. It went in reverse because they actually based it on left and right. So
everybody listening knows you can ask me questions. I'm not going to hate on you. Just so you know.
I might.
I'm not going to be that guy. No question is a dumb question. Just ask.
I'm not going to be that guy that says, "Yeah, you Google."
Oh, you're a grumpy old man.
I'll be cool.
No, you're grumpy.
He'll answer your question and then tell you to get off his lawn.
Yeah, no, you're grumpy. The last 45 videos from Brian are old DJs. I'm just saying he's that guy.
But to be fair, I was at DJ Expo several years back, bought a couple packs of Megapower profiles, came home and did not bother with the owner's manual, but I did happen to come across a guy named Brian S. Red who did a video about Megapower profiles.
And how old
everything I needed to know.
And how old DJs use them.
So what you're saying is you're a cheater. You won't read the manual, but you'll watch Brian's video.
Wait, how is that cheating? Like, there were so many times I was in school where the teacher.
I'm being facetious.
Yeah. That's I got a whole lot of Bill Nye instead of textbooks as a kid. Like,
now, YouTube has changed the game dramatically now with the amount of information that's available, and it's amazing to me how easy it is and how helpful YouTube has become.
I mean, we've had this conversation before, where I think there are some people who. Maybe it's a left brain, right brain thing, but there are some people who are more artists than technicians, and some people are more technicians than artists.
Right.
Some people are more business people than artists.
Well, and you happen to be both because you were the one.
No, Brian's
no, you're artist and a technician, because when they came out with the pocket spot, you had to invert both the pan and the tilt to get them to cross beams.
Yeah,
but when they came around with the Pocket Pro, you only had to do the one, which was the pan and tilt.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, if you did the other one, then you had a fixture pointing backwards.
And
I just want to beat
where I didn't find that information. The manual.
Well, that's because you weren't reading close enough.
No.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
You know, I'll say with the beginning of my DJ career, I watched a lot of Brian's videos. I still watch a lot of Brian's videos. I've said this a million times. But for me, I'm much more of a visual learner. Like I did really terrible in school. I'm really bad at sitting in a classroom. I'm really bad at like reading a textbook. If you want me to write something, like done.
Yeah.
But I can sit down and watch one of Brian's videos on a light I might have just purchased or something I bought used or 100 different things. And in 6 minutes, I know everything about it. I can do it on my own, ready to go out and do an event with this fixture, answered my question, or I could have spent 20 minutes trying to find that one section in really tiny print with the reading glasses on because I'm straining my eyes, trying to find that one little thing.
There's a lot of people like you. Yeah. There's a lot of people like you, David. They're called kinesthetic learners. They don't learn by reading. They learn by doing or watching someone else. Yeah, and that's important.
I feel like the DJ
I did this as a goof, just to
but like there's legitimacy to it.
But this has turned into almost an hour show. This is pretty cool.
And like the same time, like Brian doing those videos on a light where someone like me might have trouble like flipping through a manual trying to find the thing or just get frustrated with it, just say, F it and go to something else. Being able to watch that video now, not only does it enable more DJs to be able to answer their questions, but it enables more people to break into the community where if I had to learn how to DJ by like getting a college education in it and sitting in a classroom and like auditorium style while someone's lecturing and I got to sit there and then go home and read the textbook.
Yeah.
I would not be in this industry.
Yeah, I'm right
exactly. Well, I gotta confess, I've been cheating with my messages often. Here's a link to Brian's video, and here's a link to Jay's video. How do I permanently delete a file from Serato? Jay's link.
Just the video for you.
Yeah.
Well, and it's certainly bolstered people's ability to go into things that they may have not done before, and I think that's a great thing. But it still comes down to understand that the manual is simply there to explain the functionality of something, and there will be times when referencing it will work best. But there are other avenues, i.e., YouTube. Different sources that you can find answers to, chat rooms, Facebook, wherever, Reddit. I don't know if you guys are aware of this because I don't know if you guys are on it, but Reddit is blown up to the point where so many DJs are now on Reddit with questions to each other. The one thing I will say is they're usually wrong. Reddit is sort of like early pro DJ. You guys remember pro DJ forums back in the early 2000s?
On AOL, right? Where with Reddit?
Like literally, like it's right around the time I found Brian back like 05 or 06, 07. And it was like there was this one big forum you could go to called Pro DJ Forums or Pro DJ whatever. And that's sort of where
Sid Vanderpool's thing, wasn't it?
I think it was,
Zone. Sid's was DJ Zone.
Oh, okay, but it was in that realm, and it was like it was either a pissing match of like, oh, I use all RCF, I have 20 of them, or I did this and I did that, and it was really mind blowing and as well as eye opening for me to see, oh, I can learn from this. Reddit is kind of doing that a little bit, but it's also going backwards. It's getting, and I don't mean this in a bad way, it's getting 5 or 6 people together who have zero knowledge other than what they can do. And what I mean by that, it's like, and Brian's sending out Cameron Paul, he's showing us history. You need to know this and learn it. Right. I think there's a lot of fast tracks now where I can pump gas, but I don't need to know where the gas came from. I can have sausage and I don't need to know how it's made.
It's the
manuals
I need to
float
know
in
how
that
the sausage
right, but manuals float in that kind of gray zone of it would be nice to understand what DMX is. Like I knew it through Record Box Lighting. Howie has certainly helped me out dramatically with it, and I've had to relearn things. But there's just basic knowledge because you're gonna be at a gig sometime, and you're gonna get caught off guard with, this isn't working. What do I do? And I tell people all the time, is the firmware updated? Because if two CDJs aren't updated the same update, they won't speak to each other on link. 100%. It won't happen.
Right.
And it's happened so many times where I've had to explain that. But, this is all part of the moving forward. So I think reading the manual also becomes understanding what goes into the gear a little bit.
Well, and also with the manual, if you don't understand a certain term, you can Google that term and maybe that'll help you get a little bit further on. And then, like we said, there's videos you guys have put out. There are still forums. You and Christian still do the Pioneer forums. But for myself, I like to go through the manual and read what it's supposed to do. Very much like Brian. I think that's why we hit it off so good. I mean, I ran across him by accident just by Googling something, and he was the first thing that came up. And I went, I watched the video. I go, he thinks like I do. And it's like they tell you, this is what it's for, and don't do this. And we got, we got to try that then. Let's see, why aren't we supposed to do this? And then you find an Easter egg, or like what Brian did, like, hey, why don't you lay the light up against the wall and you got 5 beams? And it's like, nobody thought of that. It's like, you're not supposed to do that.
I was doing research on the Revo 3 and I would have never thought to point it at the ceiling. I was like, that's genius.
Looks amazing.
I have paid nobody to say any of this stuff tonight, by the way.
I haven't, but I used the Revo 3 pointed up from the floor up for like 3 years, and people always complimented me. Always said like, "Oh my God, that looks amazing."
I just got the PayPal. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, I was gonna say Brian's got to be doing payola. Wait. He's in the Cameron Paul payola mode. Too soon?
Come on, he's the OG. He is the OG.
Yeah.
For people that did not want to read manuals, he's the OG for sure.
Yeah. And by the way, I challenge all of you to go find the Brian S. Red video tonight of him replacing the drivers and JBL speakers, just to show you where Brian came from. Cigarette in one hand, in the driveway, doing the drivers. I was watching that like, wow, that's how you do drivers? Like, I've done that, but why is he smoking? And why is he out in the snow?
I've done that. I did it a million times. They just screw right on. Come on, it's not rocket science.
He's out there like, here you go, kids. JBL drivers.
I love that. I love that video. I was like, oh my God, I've done that. And I'm
in the back of the big red truck over here. Let me just show you how this goes.
Yeah.
What the hell?
To do the video really fast because
it was freezing out, Brian. It was snowing.
It was cold, but Brady Mikesell had just told me how to do it. I needed to do it before I forgot what he told me. So I had to do it really fast.
There's that.
I felt like if I did a video while I was doing it, I could reference back to it. You don't know how many times. There's an old piece of equipment that I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. How does it work? Let me Google it. And there's a video showing me exactly how to work that thing. And I shot it like 7 years ago.
I had to figure out how to get my screen to go to white out in the sun. And I literally was like, damn it, I know how to do this, but I can't remember. So I'm like, screw it. How to like invert the colors on a MacBook. And my video came up. I'm like, son of a damn it. It's like 4 buttons and something number 7. I'm like, this is awesome. Oh, and by the way, if you want to watch Brian's early catalog and wonder if smoke machines will set off a fire alarm at a school dance, they will.
Oh, and they go dance in the lightning storm? Yeah, I remember that.
They will.
Yeah.
Hey, I think
can I get you something? Just a large Coke. That's the other thing you take from Brian's videos.
I think the chat here would be a good spot to close this on.
Yeah,
someone in the chat said, forget Reddit. You got to go to Brian S. Reddit.
How much did he pay for that one?
And that was from
How
Lori.
much?
That was from Lori.
Well, yeah.
That was from Lori.
Lori's on the take.
Oh
this
my
Cameron
God.
Paul Paola thing still living.
I honestly did not think this would take off. It was clickbait, but it worked. Thank you all for participating. Thank you all for tuning in. You never know what's going to happen here, but we'll probably laugh. So good night, all. Thank you so much.
Good night.